just keep asking me questions.
All right, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Sure. Hi guys, and welcome back to Stacking Wisdom Podcast. My name is Artem. It's my brother Alex. We're the co-hosts, and today we're joined with Dani. Tell us more about your goals and like where you're trying to go with your venture, because I've seen that it's somewhat similar to kind of the idea that we have with this podcast, and it kind of resonates in a lot of ways. So I honestly, I've kind of tried to look for it, but I mean, let's share that with the listeners and the viewers.
Yeah, we have a lot of synergy, it seems like, between what we're doing, which is cool. We want to have more synergy with more companies.
Let's do it, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we've been running City Moguls now for 3 years. It's basically, in short, like a big celebration of entrepreneurship.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah, so, we're just exactly kind of what you're doing. You're also like celebrating entrepreneurship and like bringing people on, which is awesome. But yeah, we're a platform to basically say, hey, there are amazing people in the city of Toronto doing really cool things, building really cool companies, innovating, changing the way we do business. Let's like honor them in a really awesome way. And we have them walk in our runway show in the fall, which is really fun. So we get them up on a runway, which is really cool.
Nice.
And we celebrate, the top entrepreneurs, the top 20 entrepreneurs every year.
Awesome.
In a fashion show to raise money for charity, really.
Fantastic.
And that's kind of how it started.
What kind of charities do you guys contribute to with that?
Yeah, it's all Canadian charities.
Okay.
Last year we raised $50,000 for Covenant House Toronto.
Nice.
And we're actually partnering up with them for the next 2 years. So we're back with them this year, and we're excited to donate to. They have a lot of different programs. The one that we're donating to this year is all about mental health awareness and their mental health programs that they do.
Sure.
Because that's kind of the instigator of why youth are homeless in Toronto. They leave their homes because they have issues in the family. And a lot of them, I think it's about 60% of them are from middle to upper class families, which is really shocked me.
Because we're in North America, and you'd think that's poverty would not really be an issue that a lot of people are really dealing with.
That statistic shocked me.
Especially in Canada, which is considered like one of the top 5 countries in the world, really. So
it's crazy. So they're going to Covenant House to kind of get help, and our funds this year will kind of go towards the programs that they have within Covenant House to help those kids out. So we're excited to be donating to them this year. But yeah, I mean, City Moguls really did start with the runway show. That was kind of our main event. That's how it started. And then we were like, hey, we have something really cool here, and we want to like keep our moguls engaged and keep them kind of mentoring other people. And so we've built new events throughout the year to help keep our community engaged.
Awesome. What kind of events? Like, what do you guys do?
Yeah, so we have one event that's called Talk the Walk, and it's basically. I've actually heard of that, Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. We've only done 2 of them, which is awesome. You've heard about it, but it's a panel discussion on entrepreneurship. We have different topics every time, and it kind of re-engages the community and says, hey, you can get into a room now with some of our Mogul alumni in like a smaller, intimate space and actually talk to them. Because some of these people are, from Dragon's Den, and they have $1 billion companies, and they're talking
really
about.
Opportunity,
so we're like, hey, you have an opportunity now to kind of meet them and be in a space and chat with them and hear about their journeys and their struggles and their mistakes and their failures. So we're doing about 3 or 4 of those Talk the Walk events a year, and then those kind of all lead up to our main runway show in the fall.
Right.
Yeah.
And then how you said that it's usually how many people that are put forth in terms of being awarded those awards for being entrepreneurs. Like, who decides on?
Great question. Great question. So actually, our Mogul nominations opened yesterday, which is really cool. So anyone, the public can nominate any Mogul. They just have to fill out they have to fulfill all the criteria on our website. They have to have be in business for 5 years. They have to be an entrepreneur. One of the main things for us is that they have to be giving back in some way, either through like their actual company, or they themselves are aligned with a certain charity or organization, or they have their own foundation. That's like a really big thing, because what we're trying to show people is that as busy as you are as an entrepreneur, there's always something you can do to help do good in the world and do good in the community. So
I agree 100%. Especially, I think with a lot of people that have accomplished a lot, it's like once you've gotten those like expensive things and you realize that it doesn't really give you as much happiness, like what do? Like you kind of want to give back to the community, right? So
well, like that's literally like you just nailed it. Like at the end of the day, it's like happiness, and so like how can you just push something forward just to drive revenue without doing good things,
of course.
And helping other people out.
Sure.
So that's kind of what our platform's like all-encompassing kind of thing is. So they have to fulfill all the criteria on our website, so people can check that out, and then you just nominate someone who you think is worthy. If they kind of are amazing, they're innovative, they're changing the way we do business in Toronto, or they're just doing something amazing, or they started a really cool company, you can nominate them. We get about like over 250 nominations, and we go through a really rigorous process of selecting them. So they go first stage through our committee, which is about 25 young people who have applied to be on our committee, and then it goes through us as the production team. So there's 4 founding members, and we kind of keep narrowing it down, and then it goes to our board members.
Nice, okay.
And then we select the top 20, which is the hardest job ever, because there's so many worthy, amazing people in the city, as you already know, because you interview them. But it's really rewarding, and it's really nice to honor these people, because they're not really getting celebrated or recognized like a lot at all. Especially, I think the nice thing with City Moguls is that we don't just recognize people once they've made their $1 billion or they're at the peak of their career. We like to honor people that are along their journey who are still doing amazing things, and we see value in them. Like a lot of our moguls, if you look back even into 2016, people who were kind of midway through their journey, they've now in 3 years have gotten so far. So it's our job to recognize people that are doing amazing things and are going on to do amazing things.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of nice to see like our moguls really succeed even after they walk the runway. So
it totally resonates with us, because I think that a lot of people we bring on the show too, like it's essentially the other 80% that get ignored by everybody else. But it's the people that are like totally involved in the communities that are that are actually trying to succeed, that are actually working towards innovating and like creating change in the marketplace. So
and on top of that, small business owners are some of the most interesting people to interview, because
so interesting.
Because oftentimes they're family owned, right? And there's always a great story to tell with each and every one of them.
And they're doing cool things. So
and it's interesting to hear their struggles and challenges too that they've had to like overcome in order for them to kind of get to the point where they're at right now as well. So
like we've met with we just chatted with one of our moguls from 2017, and they've completely changed their business model, and they're onto something, a new venture, and they were like, this wasn't working, and we've had to shift things around, but like we're really excited, and this is what we're moving on to. And they moved from like a B2C company to more of a B2B, and they just recognize that, and we want them to come speak on our panel, because we're like, people should know that this didn't work for you. You recognize it at a certain like stage of your, like business, and let's talk about that, because people want to hear about the struggle. And if you're not changing and moving, and adapting, exactly, then what's it all about?
It's funny. Yesterday we had a guest actually on. It's one of the other episodes that's going to be coming out before this one, and so you guys will hear it, or you'll see it. But one of the guests that we had, she told us that she invested a lot of time, a lot of money, had contracts lined up, and then she just came to a realization that this company wasn't for her, that she didn't really like running this business at all.
So it happens all the time.
So she just kind of decided to kind of walk away from it, but used it as like a big stepping stone for her to kind of utilize all the experience that she's put into developing this specific brand or this company in the first place. And now what she does is she creates she sits down with business owners, and she'll give them like a strategic basically rundown of the the actual plans they should be setting out ahead of time in order for them to achieve their goals, right? So it's really cool what she's doing. So she's like totally giving back to, and she's working with a lot of smaller businesses too, so she'll volunteer like small amounts of time to actually help them out, whether it be like through like a video call or something like that, right? So it's really neat to see how people are giving back and helping out other businesses too, for sure.
We one of the moguls that sat in our Talk the Walk panel last year, he went really raw and like authentic with like the struggles that his family had to make, like sacrifices they had to make for his business, and it was just like so like it was just an aha moment where you're like, wow, not everyone who looks like they're doing amazing, started that way. They started with serious struggles. But if you believe in it and you push forward, and again, keep adapting with the times.
Of course, yeah. Well, it's never a straight line either, right?
Never.
It's always this crazy.
Never. And all entrepreneurs know it's a roller
of course,
coaster.
yeah.
It's always a roller coaster.
And a lot of the times it might seem like you're fine on the outside, but in reality you're like...
Yeah, you're dying a little bit on the inside. Yeah, like I got off like that too, I think people come up to me and they're like, wow, Dani, like City Mogul is so amazing. And I'm like, I literally haven't slept this week. And not because I don't have time, but because like things are just moving and in my head and ideas are coming and things are shifting the model. And now we're not just this one event, but we're multiple, and we're doing Mogul Media now, which is something that we've started in the past and we're trying to gear up.
So what is that? What's Mogul Media?
Well, we're doing actually kind of something similar. We interview our Mogul alumni, so people who have already walked our runway. And it's again like another way to, because at the runway event, by the way, it's like 500-600 people that come out to that event. So it's hard to talk about all 20 moguls at that event.
Of course, yeah.
They get to walk the runway. We interview them in a short little series quickly, but you don't get to like hear about their stories.
Of course.
So we have a series where I myself go out and interview all of the Mogul alumni, and we're kind of ramping that up again now in the summer. And yeah, kind of exactly what you guys are doing, and just chatting to them about what they're doing, how they started, why they started, what they're doing, what their next steps are, and
that's amazing.
It's really fun. Yeah, it's a fun way to kind of hear about them, because you kind of see some of these moguls. Some of them are really big, and you see them on this kind of screen, or you see them in a certain light, and you kind of idolize them for what they've done maybe.
Sure.
And now we're kind of getting deep and raw and real talks.
And then
Hashtag real
find
talks.
the real, the person that they are. Actually,
yeah, we're trying to pull it out of them. Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, we're ramping up Mogul Media in the summer.
So how would somebody find, like, be able to watch it or listen to it?
Yeah.
Like, what are the different formats that you guys distribute it through?
Yeah, it'll be kind of like you guys. It'll be on YouTube. It'll live on all of our social media, Facebook and Instagram. And eventually, we would love to. We'll probably put that into some sort of podcast as well.
Fantastic.
So yeah, hopefully Spotify and iTunes and all those fun places where people listen to things. Yeah.
Excellent. That's fantastic. So I think that it's great, and I think that one of the biggest reasons that we kind of had this idea to begin with is, Toronto is becoming like a really big centralized kind of business hub too.
It sure is.
Because of interest from Amazon, from Microsoft, and all these big developments that are happening, and like it's kind of it seems like people should be putting like Toronto a lot more on the map, but not maybe just Toronto, because there's a lot of other areas that surround it as well. So
it's like, well, Toronto is just like such an amazing city to me, and I know people like. Can I swear on this? People shit all over Toronto sometimes, and I think it's like so horrible because there are so many people that are doing such amazing things. And like we just meet the most amazing people. Even just like working with Covenant House and the other Canadian charities that we've worked with, including Canadian Feed the Children, Mount Sinai Hospital, and they're just such great people in the city and who work so hard to like do good. And I'm just like, Toronto's so amazing, like let's like build it up more, like let's keep going. It's like, I don't know why, I think there's a stigma.
I think maybe there's just because if you go outside of Toronto to like any rural areas, it's such a big contrast, right? And I think it's not even the hate itself, it's more of just like those guys are kind of snobby, and then like let's kind of brush them off.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of why, Toronto gets that
kind of perception.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and that's also kind of what we're doing with Mogul Media. We're like, hey, these people look like they're so amazing, and they're doing really great things, and their life is perfect, and Instagram look perfect for them, and all of these things. And then we're like, no, like these are people. We're all human beings, and we all, a feeling that you have, another 10 people are feeling that thing, right? So it's like, let's just get real with people, and then you see that there's all the same kinds of people in Toronto that are amazing and not snobby.
For sure. I think people just in general, they just have kind of the same tendencies and same goals more or less. It's like, I think the whole thing with like, the fakeness of Instagram is kind of coming to an end, because not maybe to an end completely, because there'll still be that, portrayal and the image of certain things that people still try to push.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that the fact that, you know, the realness is sort of starting to come out a little bit more, that in itself is something that should be, you know, to some extent celebrated too, because it's like, yeah, like, you know, they started off, you know, with no resources, and for example, they struggled for many years and nobody's really helped them, you know, and then they kept, you know, pushing away at it, and they were able to accomplish whatever they wanted to do, right? So
Yeah.
so that, like, we should be talking about those journeys, we should be talking about those struggles, right?
Yeah.
Just to kind of put it in the perception of other people that, you know, it's not just like, you know, oh, I decided to launch a company, I'm an owner, right? Like,
Sure.
all of a sudden, like, you start making millions, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it does happen, but for the most part, that's not how it works, right? So
Well, yeah, and we have moguls, like we had Sarah Wells, who's an Olympic hurtler. She was in our runway show this past year. And I think, you know, people are like, wow, like an Olympian. And she's gone through a lot to get where she,
bet,
you know,
yeah.
like, it's not like everything was just handed to her. And she made the most of it, right? Like, she took things as they came and just kept taking and growing. And that's, you know, like, everyone has their story.
with
Like,
any athlete, I think that, you know, they go through so many struggles specifically before they can even make it to that pro level. Because
Oh, yeah.
there's so many people that try to push for that, and they never even reach it, right?
Yeah,
But
it's hard.
a
Sports
lot
is
of the
hard.
times they're just as talented as the people that make it. It's just those people that made it can be a little bit, you know, just have a little bit more luck on their side or something, right? So
Yeah, that's a tough industry, sports.
no, for sure. Yeah.
I would not want to be there. I mean, like, kudos to everyone who does that, but
Yeah.
that's tough.
Well,
Yeah.
it takes a toll on your body most times, right? And then just you walk away by like age 30, 35.
And you're done. Well, I grew up competitively dancing.
Okay.
That's actually like the roots of how City Moguls started, if you will.
Awesome. Okay, so tell us more about that. So tell us more about the beginnings, and
Yeah.
how did you sort of, you know, progress from the starting point to kind of where you are now?
So, I mean, we can go back really far to when I met Victoria, one of our founding members as well, at U of T.
Right.
We were dancing on the dance team there at U of T.
Okay.
We became captains of the team. We were
Nice.
like, oh my God, let's do something really cool with this team, because we had all these ex-competitive dancers. I don't know if you know anything about competitive dance, but it is like a serious sport.
For sure it is.
It's like, it is hardcore. Like, I was in the studio sometimes like 15 to 20 hours a week. But it was amazing. It taught me a lot of discipline. I loved it. I still teach dance on the side.
Amazing. Okay.
It's something that will always be a part of me. But yeah, we were like, this team, like, let's do something with it. So we would like run these really like fun like pub nights and fundraisers, and we were like, oh, we like running events together, like let's do something even bigger. And we kind of came together with another founding member, and we were like, let's do a charity event that kind of showcases the arts community in Toronto.
Nice. Okay.
So we booked a theater. We had no idea what we were doing. We're like, let's just put on a little show and get our parents to come out and buy tickets and get a few sponsors and see what we can do.
Right.
And we ended up getting, you know, some people from So You Think You Could Dance to come on when
Nice,
that was
nice.
big in Canada. And we got some local dance studios, and we got fashion designers. So we did like this whole fashion show, dance music collaboration show.
Amazing. Okay.
And we were like, oh my God, this is really cool. And we raised like $5,000 for a charity. I think that was when we did Canadian Feed the Children that first year. We were like, okay, this is cool. Like, we learned how to like budget for a show and get people involved and sell out a theater. Like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we did that for a few years. And I think that was kind of like, at the end of university when we left, we're like, okay, we need to kind of go back and adapt this differently now that we're in a different part of our careers.
Sure.
And that was kind of the birth of City Moguls. So at our last show in university of this one, basically one of our designers didn't show up. So we were like, oh my God, we have a whole like 10 minutes of a show to fill right now. So I got my boyfriend at the time. Victoria got her boyfriend at the time. We got all of these guys. I got my cousins. I got some friends, because it was a male runway show. I was like, who's wearing a suit? Come backstage. We got a 10-minute slot to fill. And that was the most exciting part of the entire show, because we were like, they're real people. They're not models. They were having so much fun on the runway. It was so exciting to watch. And I was like, oh, that was my aha moment. I was like, people like seeing real people.
Right. Of
Yeah.
course. Of course they
Of
do.
course, yeah.
So I had a conversation with another founding member, Monica. We brought her on, and she was like, let's do this thing called City Moguls, where we honor real people. And then we kind of were like, oh, we're all entrepreneurs. We all have other side businesses that we run. Let's kind of roll with this model and see what happens. And we did it, and it was like, it was perfect. Like that was, we found something that really worked. And we met really good people out of it too. So that was kind of like the birth of it. And we still include, like you guys will come to our runway show in November.
Of course,
But you'll see that it's like really interesting. It's not just like this boring show that you go to.
Right.
We really infuse our kind of arts background. So there's always a dance element. There's always music. There's always something cool or different. And I think that's what kind of sets us apart from other charity events in the city, because I don't think anyone does what we do.
You're trying to make it like bring the excitement to it as well, and like the entertainment factor, right? And like just
it's so exciting.
It sounds like it's not like it's just like your typical charity where just people just show up and let's bid on some items,
Yeah, exactly. It's like, let's just have a dinner and talk about stuff and like white linens in a big hall, and we do something really unique.
Nice,
I think we've really found our model. But yeah, that's kind of how we started. It was just like kind of organic, where we were like, hey, like all of these guys walking the runway, this is like the most exciting. People were cheering and they knew people. And it wasn't just, listen, I love the fashion industry and I think it's great. And we do a lot of work with the fashion industry in Toronto Fashion Week.
Sure. Well, what kind of work? Like, how do you guys integrate that sort of into your business model?
Well, separately, we have City Moguls, and then separately, Victoria and I run an event planning company called Stratus Events.
Okay.
So we do a lot of work with Toronto Fashion Week, and we're actually doing a couple City Moguls events, hopefully within Fashion Week this year, which is kind of exciting.
Awesome. Okay.
But yeah, we. That's kind of like that's my other company.
No,
so we have.
Fine, but tell us more about that, because that's why we bring people on. We want to hear about their everything that they're trying to involve themselves into, but at the same time, like, it allows you to kind of put it out in the open too.
No, totally. Yeah. We have an event planning company. We do mostly like corporate events and charity events, but the thing that we kind of do, which what I was telling you about, is we put our own kind of spin on all of these events, because we have this arts background, so we always come up with really fun ideas. But we do about 10 events a year right now, and we love doing it. And it's like, we just like love logistics, which is like so funny to say, because I don't think anyone is like, I love doing logistics, but we actually do.
It's probably the factor that that you're always doing something new, something kind of different.
Yes,
right? That's probably what makes it exciting for you
Yeah.
guys, because it's like you're not like stuck in an office kind of doing this.
Totally. And I worked in the corporate world, and it was great while it lasted, but I think going from all these different events, like event to event, is really fun. Like we helped do the Canadian Arts and Fashion Awards.
Okay.
So we've also kind of just, again, like fallen into this kind of fashion world.
Sure.
And it also happened authentically. I think a lot of people are going to school and they're really excited about going into something very specific. But things sometimes just happen.
It usually never works out that way.
Yeah, I don't know anyone that's like, I went to school for this and this is how I came out, and I'm doing the exact thing that I went to school for. Unless you're becoming a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
And even
or an
so,
engineer or something, right? Or something like that.
And even so, it sometimes doesn't work out. But
Yeah.
I went to U of T to do political science and Jewish studies.
Okay.
Not doing anything
It's
with
very
either of those
specific, very
things.
specific, okay.
I'm not going into politics. I'm not going into research. So
Right.
it was kind of just like an interest. But
Right.
yeah.
So how did you get into like the corporate world, and like what did you do after that?
Yeah, right as I was in I think it was my second last year of U of T, and I did my undergrad really slow.
Right.
I did like the first, I went abroad for my first year, I came back.
Nice.
And
Where'd
then
you
I went to Israel. I went to Hebrew University for a
okay.
year. Yeah, they have like an international school there. And that was like amazing. And I learned a lot. And I was like, I want to change the world, and the only way to do it is to become a politician. And
no.
I know they like suck you in, but no, it was really interesting. I loved history, so
Right.
I kind of did the religious studies thing too.
Awesome,
And so I did that really slowly. So in my 5th year, I was teaching dance, and I got offered a position to go work at an event production company. So I did that for about a year and a half, and then I got offered a position at the Roots head office.
Awesome, okay.
And that was super corporate for me. Like, I'm sure people who actually work in corporate are like, that's not corporate. But that was as corporate as it got for me.
Yeah.
But, it was a 200-person office, and, meetings and hierarchy and bureaucracy to get through, to get things done. And
of course,
so
politics, right?
lots of politics.
Well, it probably helped you because, you had the political background.
Yeah, it steered me very, very far away from politics. Yeah.
So you kind of started off with politics, tried to go away from it, but went back into politics, right?
Yeah, hilarious. Yeah, well, politics never really leaves you.
I know, I'm just...
But you're right, 100%. I went into that, and then I was there at Roots, and then I left and I went to work for an experiential marketing agency.
That's okay.
And yeah, like I think being at different companies helped me like learn a lot about what I was doing. And I think, and this is really funny, whenever I was at these companies, I was always working on a side hustle. I was always working on City Moguls on the side. Right. And I think that was like, it clicked for me at my last job, which I left about now 3-4 years ago. I was like, I should just be doing this full time. And I was, I took a leap of faith. I always knew that I could always go back somewhere. Right. So you can always go back and work for someone because there's lots of opportunities, especially in Toronto. But you can't leave and say, oh, I never left and I never tried. So I left and I tried and, it's working out for me really well. And we have some really good clients for Stratus, for our event planning company, and City Moguls now is really flourishing. So I'm very lucky, but it took some time. It took a lot of time.
That's really, really cool.
What are some of the most who are some of the most memorable moguls that you had, and like what were some just experiences that you had, like with them being on the runway and mogul media you said as well?
Yeah. Oh my God, now that we have 60 Mogul alumni, right? So it's like a lot of people to like rack my brain about. I really love, I don't know if you've heard of them. They're called MJKO. They're a boxing company, Miranda and Ibrahim Kamal.
No. Sounds kind of familiar to me. I don't know.
He's like an ex-boxing champ, and so is she. They're like such a cool couple. And I love what they do because they have this amazing boxing gym for kids. I think it's a lot of underprivileged youth as well. Okay. To get them into sport, get them into kickboxing, helps with a lot of mental health issues. Right. But they don't just run their company. They also like help these kids like do paperwork for school, and they help their families with immigration papers, and they're just so invested in like their youth. And they like had never walked a runway before. I'll bet most of them don't. Most of them haven't. But they were just super excited. They had so much fun on the runway, and I'm gonna send you their clip because like they just rocked out in this really cool outfit. And all of our moguls are dressed in Canadian designers, by the way.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we partner up with about 7-8 different Canadian designers, and they dress like 2 to 3 of our moguls.
Do they make like specific, I guess, outfits specifically for that event? Or do they usually like provide you with something that they already have?
They usually provide something that's within like their latest line,
right.
To show off something that they've done recently. But I mean, the nice thing with our moguls, like they're not sample size, so like sometimes
I was gonna
designers,
say, because a lot of designer stuff, it's very like slim bodies and like not everybody's like that, right? Especially if you're...
But you know what? The fashion industry is changing a lot. And, one of our designers, Leslie Hampton, who actually was a mogul last year, she's doing a lot of innovative things on her runway. At Fashion Week, she showed just like a whole line of Indigenous women of all shapes and sizes. So we love having her because she always has multiple kinds of sizes for our moguls. And a lot of the designers we use have a lot of like a range of sizes, which is really nice to see because I don't think 5 years ago would be like that.
Selecting these designers in the first place? Do they come to you, or is it just because you guys have like a working mutual relationship, or like how do you go about finding them, and like if like say like somebody who's just starting, like can they still reach out to you and like participate?
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, right at the beginning, I'll be like perfectly candid. We were like, hey, we're running this event. We don't have any clout, but it's going to be really cool. Do you want to be involved? So that was kind of how it started. And now that we kind of have some, things backing us up, we have someone on our board, Vicky Milner, who's the president of the Canadian Arts and Fashion Awards. And it's all volunteer based. All of our board members are volunteers, but she really helps us connect with some of the designers who, would work best with our brand. Because, we can't put some of our moguls in, some moguls won't wear streetwear, and some moguls don't want to wear crazy avant-garde, wild things that you might see on a runway. So
they get to actually pick out exactly what they want.
Yeah, they really work with the designer.
It's not like you force them into like He's like, yeah, we want you to wear a hoodie, and they're like, no, no way, right?
No, we actually ask all of our moguls. We're like, hey, describe your style in like 10 or less words, and then we pair them up with a designer that we think would work best with them, and then they work really closely with the designer. They have a fitting, and they chat, and it's a really good opportunity for both parties. We're kind of like this middleman between like a designer and moguls who could be future clients, they could collaborate together. Like we're all about making connections.
Nice.
And that's why we've like continued doing all of these events, like Talk the Walk throughout the year, so that like people can just connect. Because some of our moguls have gone off and done things together and collaborated on businesses or just initiatives or events. It's like really cool. We're like, yeah, like they were brought together.
So you
City
guys
Moguls.
are like a matchup club for all these.
We are a matchup club. No, I should not say that.
For all these businesses.
We're connecting. We're connectors. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah. We're definitely connectors, and it's nice to see that people are actually, meeting up and getting together and taking steps to do things together. Because honestly, I'm very lucky. Like I have a really great crew, but sometimes you need to meet people in weird ways to like be like, hey, I have a business idea and I'm looking for a partner, or I need some advice, I need a mentor. So this is like a hub.
Right.
We are a hub to connect people.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
How did you go about like with the first event that you guys ran? How did you go about like getting a hold of these people in the first place, or like what was the approach that you actually were able to like set up and be like, nominate these people, and then like how do we actually get in touch with them?
Yeah, no,
like,
it's great.
Because it seems like
it's a great question.
It's kind of hard to just like reach out to those people that are sort of in the limelight, right? It's kind of like maybe a bit intimidating too to some extent.
Oh, it's super intimidating. I used to go on my lunch break. My old bosses are not probably listening, but that's okay. I used to go on my lunch break at Roots, and I would like cold call people, and I'd be like, hey, you don't know me, but I'm running this really awesome event, and we want to honor you on the runway.
Nice.
And it's this date and this time, and these are all the things you'd have to do. And I would send them all the information and the website and everything. And I would just kind of cross my fingers at that point. But we did actually get some nominations in that first year, which was awesome. So that was kind of like the beginnings of it, like reaching out to people who we thought fit all the criteria. It was kind of a mix of like people we reached out to and then people who were nominated and selected. So, and then from there on, everything went through this nomination process because we got some really good people at that first year. And I think that's like also another really good piece of advice. If you're going to do something, like do it right the first time. Like don't rush it. You don't need to, run before you walk. Like do it properly and push it out properly in the way you envision it, because you only get one shot to do it. So we like really put a lot of thought into that first show, making sure like really great VIPs came out, some potential sponsors. We spent money, like we made sure that we did it well so that we could continue doing it and build like the brand. But yeah, that's my biggest piece of advice, because sometimes I still do this and I get like, slaps on the wrist sometimes because I'm like, let's do this and let's push it out tomorrow and this is really exciting and we got to do this now, and it's like you got to rein it in sometimes and be like, what are you focusing on, and let's just do it slowly because there's no rush.
It's true. True. Sometimes it's better just to take a step back and just be like, let's reevaluate things and like take it at a slower pace sometimes, right? Because
no one does it overnight.
Sometimes the people they don't take you seriously sometimes, right?
And I think that's also like, it's really nice because I learn a lot too from the Talk the Walk panels, and I think that was like a main theme with both of our panels, even though they were on completely different topics. It was just like, don't rush things. You don't need to do things overnight, and just let things happen. Because
I think a lot of people that's one of the things we keep stressing on our show is that. A lot of the times you kind of have to craft like a long-term strategy, and a lot of people they all want the short-term gratification, and it doesn't work that way. Or sometimes it does, but usually it's not really a good long-term strategy.
And it's especially important in a day and age where there's always so much competition, like in every industry. Like you have to have a long-term strategy. It's essential.
And you know what the nice thing is I feel like I definitely have learned that like, yes, there are a lot of other people doing similar things and whatever, but I just see everything as collaboration now. Like I can't look at things as competition. It's just collaboration because everyone can really work together. There's room for everyone in every industry. And I think that's like the hindrance for some people. They're like, oh, they're already doing this, and I could probably do it better or differently, but they're already doing this. And it's like someone's going to be doing something similar, if not the same as you. You're just going to put your spin on it because everyone's unique, right? So I think I look at everything now as like collaborative and like how can we work together instead of like, oh, you do something similar, like stay away.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
The one question that I had for you was with the panel, because you said the panel actually makes the final decision as to who gets selected for the for the top, right? For the top selection. So talk about a little bit more about the panel itself and how do you guys come about bringing these people on and in the first place? Where do you pick them from? Where what are their backgrounds? Where do they what are their qualifications kind of thing, right? So
we have about 8 board members, and all of our board members are from different fields. So they kind of fulfill almost kind of like what all of our moguls fulfill, because our moguls are from all different industries: media, finance, health and wellness, sports, entertainment, fintech, anything. So it's really, really broad. So our board members kind of fill all those kinds of niches.
Sure.
And our board members are kind of the, head honchos of their industries, if you will. So we have the top people from fashion, we have the top people from marketing, we have the top people from SEO, we have the top people in charitable organizations. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just a really strong group of Toronto powerhouses that we've kind of curated. And they've been really loyal to us and have stuck with us for the last 3 years. And they believe in the brand and they believe in what we do, and they attend every show, and they're just amazing at what they do. And we've always kept it small because it's one thing to say, oh, I want to get 50 people on this board to help do it, but it's really about our relationships with them and making sure that our relationships are strong with them. And they have a voice to help pick the top 20 moguls. So they've been really helpful in that process. But I mean, after it goes through those first 2 stages, they get a really curated list anyway, which is awesome. So they have the really tough decisions to make, unfortunately, because they get the top 50, top 60. Yeah, they have to narrow it down.
How do you go through all that and just be like, yeah, this person's great, but we have to kick him out.
It's always a process, and we do the same thing with our charity applications. Come in and we're everyone's so deserving. How could you possibly pick a charity that's actually more worthy than another? They're all worthy, and it's just again about those relationships and building those relationships.
So where do you see this sort of brand going, or this event going? Do you see kind of growing outside of Toronto and going to other bigger cities like Vancouver?
We might have some plans to be doing that. They might be in the works. I can't divulge everything right now.
You don't have to give us the full breakdown. I just kind of trying to get a sense of what's happening. How are you guys trying to maybe grow a little bit?
No, totally. I mean, listen, honestly, we would love to grow nationally. That again, we're all about doing Canadian stuff. I don't know if we would ever go into a different market, but we would love to do a City Moguls Vancouver, City Moguls Montreal, City Moguls Ottawa, all these cities that I think would really benefit from having our event there. And honing in on the fact that all of our getting new moguls in different cities and connecting them with moguls from other cities, so a lot of cross collaboration could happen. So that's really exciting to us, and I think we've gotten a lot of feedback that we should definitely go national. So we're working on it. Again, it's
nice,
that
okay.
Nothing can happen overnight kind of rule, but we're working on it, and we're trying to build out our mogul media platform a little bit and get that going more online. So there's a lot of things we can do with our platform right now. Again, it's just being okay, let's focus on 1 or 2 things instead of being oh my God, we have all these ideas. So I'm very excited that we will eventually go national. Yeah.
Awesome.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Tell us more a little bit, about yourself and with your plans with everything that you're doing. Kind of how does it that you're able to kind of manage everything that you're kind of doing with your other businesses and this, because it seems like it's kind of growing out of proportion a little bit, and it's becoming so big, and
I know.
especially if it's if it does end up growing into something else.
Oh, totally.
How would you step away from something else and like
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have to step away from things if you're gonna grow your own brand. Of course, you
But
can't
how do you
do
manage
everything.
things right now? Like with
I have no fucking idea.
how do you sleep?
I know this is crazy, and my husband can attest to this. I sleep 8 hours a night, like 7-8 hours a night. I always get my sleep.
Nice.
I think it's really important.
It is.
I don't know how I manage to do everything that I do and still get 8 hours, but I do. It's very important to me. I love my sleep. But I think that you're right. Eventually, with City Moguls growing so much, you do have to like pick and choose where you want to put all of your efforts, and that will, be a decision I probably have to make really soon, because it's, keeps like snowballing, and it's great. I'm not complaining. It's like, an entrepreneur's dream, but I'm definitely gonna have to, say no to more things so I can focus on City Moguls. But right now, honestly, I have really good people around me that push me and keep me really organized. Like my business partner Victoria, and our other co-producers, and our junior producer Alicia. Like, we have such a good team, and I think if you think you can just do this on your own, you're setting yourself up for failure. Because you need good brains next to you. You need different brains next to you. You need people who fill in your gaps. Because I definitely don't know everything. Like, I don't have a background in certain things, and SEO, and I've taught myself a lot about social and marketing, but I mean, you need people to fill those gaps, and I think that has been like the key. Because if I was just a solopreneur and I was just doing an events company and City Moguls on my own, they would not be where they are today.
Of course,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's the good people around me who like support me. And I've had to cut relationships that are like, drowning my energy or, holding me back from things. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't talk about, like cutting out bad relationships. Or spending less time with people that are like pulling you down. So I try and surround myself with like really positive people who are doing similar things to me, because that's really helpful. And I have a lot of friends that I'm sure you guys have the same, that do work 9 to 5s and they love their corporate jobs, and I think that's amazing, and they're doing great things within their companies. And without those corporate companies, we wouldn't have sponsorships, so we need that. But I mean, and those people have to support me, and I have to support them. So if that relationship isn't, good, it's like, hey, Dani, do you want to get together tonight? I'm like, sorry, I can't. I have an event. I have a City Moguls talk. I have, a meeting with a potential sponsor or a potential client. Like, if they don't understand that, then it's a sayonara. Yeah. So I think that's also like something that's really kept me going, is like people help steering me in the right directions, or just supporting me along the journey, and like letting things happen as they come.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys feel the same way though too.
No, I agree. I think it's always like a learning curve, especially with letting go of some connections that you have, especially like with past friendships, because if it's not allowing you to progress as like a human being and as a as a business person, then like why hold on to that, right? Because if it's only benefiting that party and it's not benefiting you in any way at all, I mean, it's kind of a questionable thing, right? Because with some friends, like, I find that you could have completely different interests, you could have completely different, involvements in life and things that you do, but at the same time, you could, just because you've had the connection from before, you can almost like still, sit down and like just, shoot the shit and be able to kind of, be able to kind of give each other feedback and really, be able to give each other a reinforcement in terms of, support or whatever else it might be, right? So I think that sometimes it's important to hold on to those relationships, because those people can actually, instead of like your really close people that can sugarcoat stuff for you just because they don't want to hurt you.
Yeah.
It's
I was just gonna say that.
Sometimes it's healthier to kind of have those people that can just kind of give you a kick in the ass and be like, listen, you're kind of fucking up. Like, you need to like do a little bit better in this area, right? Or
totally.
Because I mean, like, I think that's one of the bigger problems too, is with businesses, when you get really like sucked into things and like really involved into things, it's kind of hard for you to kind of keep focus on like things that are sort of important for you down the road, like your family, and things as such as, right? Because it's always like you're playing this like balancing game. It's
right.
I think that it kind of makes it somewhat complex for a lot of people to kind of find that balance and to be able to stick to that, right? But
balance is hard. And I think I think it's just like a mindset instead of looking at it like balance, like what I was saying about competitors versus collaborators, instead of looking at it like, what were you saying? Sorry.
With friends.
Balance. Balance.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at it like balance, looking at it more as like flow. And I think like that mindset's also helped me instead of like, trying to balance family, friends, like this job, like teaching dance, this, instead of looking at it like that scale, it's just kind of looking at it like flow.
Yeah.
And I think that's like mentally helped me in the last like literally few months.
That's a good way to look at it for sure, yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I learned that from Oprah on her Super Soul podcast, probably really recently. I've been listening to that. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she said that, and it's like really helped me just be like, yeah, like I don't need to just like be like, we need to do this and this and this and this, instead of just like flowing through your days and your weeks. And for me, it's like I have divorced parents, my husband has divorced parents, so like for family holidays, it's like the most stressful, like literally the most stressful part of my life. It's like, okay, who do we choose this year? Who's asked us first?
You're not gonna go to all 4 different places.
It is honestly, I'm sure people who have the same situation like understand this, and if you don't, you will never understand this. But that's okay. I will tell you.
We both understand, yeah.
Okay, well there you go.
We're on the same page.
Okay,
yeah.
So you get it.
Yeah,
so
of course, yeah.
It's like this, stressful thing to add on top of like the stress of like literally building your brand and your career and like trying to make sure that you can like eat for the next few months, few weeks, few days.
Yeah.
So it's like that is very like stressful, and now I'm trying to just look at it like flow. So it's like whatever happens, and whoever's upset can be upset, and I'm just doing my best, and he's just doing his best, and everyone's just trying to do their best, and that's it. And it's not like tit for tat and we have to do this and this year and this next year and this holiday for this parent. Whatever happens, and that's it. Because life is too short, and if they want to come see us too, they can come see us. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Well, it's true, yeah. Because I mean, it's a two-way thing, right? Because
it's a two-way street.
If they want to, be involved in your life, they can participate just as much, right?
You guys aren't children anymore. They can come visit you at your places. Yeah, they can come visit you in Burlington and Brampton, and it's that flow, right?
For sure.
Trying to focus again on less of like the minutia and just focusing like more on like looking at things, being like, okay, I don't need to focus my energy today on this thing. I'm going day to day thinking about the priorities, because obviously like killing myself thinking about which parent to go to for Passover this weekend does not need to consume my mind for 2 weeks. I need to focus on my business.
Yeah, fair enough. Exactly,
yeah.
So let's just take a step back and let's talk about the other part of, I guess, this whole venture. And let's talk about the part where you have these moguls or other entrepreneurs come out and like do the talks. Tell us a bit more about that, and like what was the the purpose behind that, and where is it sort of headed to, and like where is it progressing to?
Yeah, well, people I think came to our runway show and they were like, "This is amazing. How do I get into a room with Michael Hyatt, who's from Dragon's Den, and big entrepreneur who can teach me about venture capitalism." I'm just like, that's a great question. I don't know. And someone else is like, hi, how can I get into a room with, Eva Radpath? She's a fitness, guru and a coach. It's like, I want to kind of pick her brain about some stuff. So we were like, let's create another event that's a bit more intimate, because that's, I think, one of the biggest hindrances of the fashion show is that you can get lost with 500 people, 600 people at an event, and just create a curated conversation that's both educational and about networking. So the panel discussion's about 45 minutes to an hour. Our first one was more kind of high level about entrepreneurship stories, and
it's really hard to cram it into that time frame though. It's so short.
Oh my god, it's so short. we could have talked for like 4 hours.
I was gonna say you could probably, that's probably the minimum you'd probably want, right?
Oh my god,
a lot of the people.
We really could have.
Yeah,
and we had this awesome Q&A that first year where we had so many all of our Q&As have been really amazing. Like people are asking them such good, thoughtful, deep questions.
Sure.
We were like, wow, people are like so engaged and they really want to hear from them. So I think like this is just gonna keep growing because we bring out such amazing people. And so anyway, the point is that from City Moguls, at the end of the year, we start the year off with our talk the walks from people who have walked that specific runway or runways past. And we curate a conversation based on like what they do. So our last talk was about growth hacking and how to grow your business and some tools and techniques to do that. And we got some moguls that are kind of experts in that kind of panel and industry. And then, you know, we're doing a talk the walk in June. We're doing another one in September. So again, there'll just be curated conversations to help people like get educated on a certain topic, like hear about some people's journeys, some struggles, like tips and techniques, and just like hear really interesting discussion, and then gives them an opportunity to have a really awesome Q&A. And then, you know, our panelists stick around for a while and they get to meet some of the guests and people in our community who want to talk to them. So
You
we're
guys
really
record these events? They like, is it
Yeah.
available anywhere? Okay.
yeah,
Okay, awesome.
we'll post them on. We do post them online, but
Nice,
we should post the full thing. So yeah, they're
I
really
was gonna say
interesting.
it'd probably be really interesting for a lot of people, and
Yeah.
it'd probably be like a really good way to promote it as well. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
you probably use like small segments of it. and-
Great tip. You learn something new every
Hey,
day.
that's all you said. Collaboration, right? So let's help each other.
Yeah, it's true. No, we should be.
Yeah.
We do record the whole thing. We haven't posted it, so we should post those.
No, I think. So how many events have you done so far?
We've only done 2 talk the walks.
Okay,
And our first one was March last year, and we took a little bit of a hiatus, and then we're kind of back in full swing now. So we're doing 3 this year.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys should come out obviously to one of them.
For sure.
One in
We'd love
June.
to. We'd
Yeah.
love to be a. We'd love to be.
We'll let you know what we're chatting about. I mean, is there anything that you would like to hear about specifically?
I honestly, there's tons of stuff. I mean, we can sit here for hours probably discussing all the things that we want to talk about. I mean, I don't know. I mean, sometimes it's good to sit down and have a really thoughtful and deep conversation about specific subjects. But I think that a lot of the times it kind of creates a lot of almost too much information for people
Yes,
to process.
it's too specific sometimes.
Yeah, and to some extent, I think it makes it like in your mind, it almost makes it like almost too challenging for you, kind of thing, right? It's just like it almost creates like roadblocks for you, and you're like, oh well, if I have to do this and this and this, it just makes it so much more difficult, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think it's always great to have a conversation, especially with people that are accomplished and that have done this kind of stuff.
Yeah, we have a lot of different. The funny thing is with both of the talks is like, we have these topics, but then we always just get really deep and raw just about people's stories, and I think that's what it comes
Exactly.
back to.
That's where I was leaving with my stuff too. I was gonna say that it's almost the one thing, even with doing the show that we're doing right now. It's the one thing that always goes back to that's the most fascinating to me is their actual journey and like everything that they've kind of gone through in order for them to kind of be where they are, and it's so interesting to see how with some people how they'll have such highs and such downs, and like how they're able to kind of rebound and like go back to something else, and like they'll go into like a completely different industry or a completely different thing with a different type of business.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating, but more so than anything, I think it's really interesting to see kind of their upbringing, because from what we've noticed from the interviews that we've done so far, it's almost always like you had some sort of like a framework where it kind of allowed you to sort of use that as an area to propel yourself to kind of to where you're going, right?
Yeah.
So whether it be like support from your the structure of your family, maybe, and the way that if let's say they were competitive, right, or if you were brought up a certain way, if you were taught certain things about how you should be in life, or the person that you should be in life, right? It's almost like a lot of that kind of sort of resonates with me too, to some extent too, because I can find a lot of similarities in the upbringing, and like it always goes back to the family, right? So
Yeah, it does.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy, but then you can always have somebody who had no opportunity or had no parents, and then they were still able to kind of succeed, right? But again, it's not really for everyone, right? Because there's a lot of people that are completely perfectly okay with being in a safe job, and it's okay for them, and they just want
great.
and they just want a typical thing. They just want the like a house, family,
And
kids,
simple is
stuff
good.
like that. Right? There's
Simple is
nothing wrong
good.
with that. It's just everybody kind of has different aspirations, different goals that they're trying to actually achieve and go for, right? So it's always interesting, and I totally agree with you that it's always going back to kind of their journey and the story that they've had, because everybody is so unique and so different, and considering I think the fact that Toronto is so diverse to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it so much more interesting because you could have like a story of somebody who was born in India and they came here, right? Or
Yeah.
somebody who was born in China and came here, or somebody who, you know, who's had parents who were like who immigrated here and then
Yeah, my
was brought up,
parents are immigrants.
yeah,
so,
but
yeah.
they were still raised in a very much like outside of a Canadian kind of family kind of standard,
Mm-hmm.
but then they kind of, it's almost like they became almost like a hybrid, right?
Yeah.
Because of the influence that they had from their friends and you know the external factors and whatever their family kind of instilled in them as well. So
Yeah.
it's always I think that's really the most fascinating thing.
It really is, and I
Yeah,
think that
yeah.
like it really just like I think people are like, yeah, I'm excited to go talk about this business thing with these people, and I'm excited to hear about where they are now, what they're doing, and then we get really deep about their journeys, and it just makes everyone look so human, and I think that human aspect is like the most exciting.
For sure it is.
for sure.
Because I think that a lot of the times people kind of put other people on pedestals,
Mm-hmm.
and they almost it's almost like they become where like, well, I can never achieve that because you know they've done so much. But then when you actually track back and you listen to their story and all the things that they had to deal with, you know, challenges and all the things that they've had to overcome.
It's like
Yeah.
one baby
Yeah.
step at a time.
Yeah,
exactly,
exactly. And I mean, that's the other thing with our runway show. Like, we are really celebrating these people and putting them up on a pedestal, but you know, they are people that kind of deserve this recognition. And then that's why we're kind of doing all these other things now to being like, okay, let's bring you back down to earth and learn a little bit more about your journey. Because, you know, we put you up as this person who's doing amazing things, innovative, you know, your business has grown twofold, whatever. And, you know, let's like talk now through Mogul Media and chat about your struggles. Let's have you on a panel and tell your story to a bunch of people, strangers, you know? So I think that raw human thing is really what we're all about at the end of the day, and I think that's what, you know, people are really looking for.
So let's go back to outside of City Moguls and let's talk about you and the business that you're involved in. Can you tell us a bit more about the industry itself and like what's happening with it? What are some of the changes and like, you know, what are some of the happenings that are, you know, taking place in that kind of industry, right? Because we kind of always like to kind of hear back from people because it's interesting to see other people's perspective on what's going on in their specific industry as well.
I mean, I feel like I don't work in a specific industry.
No?
I feel like I work in like an event industry and the fashion industry,
Right.
and then I work like by myself as an entrepreneur with like no like people in an industry, even though there's a whole industry of entrepreneurs. And then I feel like
Let's drop the word industry.
yeah,
Fair
like
enough, okay.
I don't even feel like I work
Sure.
in a specific industry anymore.
Right, yeah.
I just feel like I'm again like
We're not using the word
collaborating.
industry, remember?
Sorry. I'm collaborating with a bunch of different people.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I just like work across all these different like
Spectrums.
yeah. It's so I think I don't know anything about where things are moving. I can predict, but
Sure.
no one really knows at the end of the day. And again, it just goes back to that like focus every day on things that are like prioritizing
Sure.
for me or things I need to prioritize. But yeah, I mean, like, again, I couldn't even tell you like what I can't say industry now. What my particular
You just said
job, my particular job is kind of going and where it's headed and what's happening right now.
Right.
Because I just feel like it's like all over the place. And then, you know,
Well, what's happening with fashion? Because I like you were mentioning, right? There's a lot of seems to be kind of going back to the roots and like whether it be like, you know, even going back to like you know the culture of like native Canadians, right?
Yeah.
And stuff like that, and sort of integrating that. I've seen kind of a lot of stuff being brought back from, you know, from the native cultures that's sort of being integrated in a lot of things that are like fashion now, right? So
yeah, I think also fashion has become so much more inclusive. I think it used to be like, oh, like I could never attend a fashion show, or I don't have any, like, everyone wears clothes. Everyone's involved in fashion. I don't think they realize it. And I think the fashion community back in the day was like this like elitist kind of thing where you couldn't really be involved in it. And I think it's become so much more inclusive.
Right.
And especially with the Canadian Arts and Fashion Awards, like they're doing things nationally with Canadians to help designers grow, become international, get them opportunities, recognize them. And I think, yeah, people like Leslie Hampton who are doing things with Indigenous models and designs is like, to see that on a Toronto Fashion Week runway is like amazing. Like I really feel like we are in the best time for fashion. It's so cool, and I really like to see that like Canadian fashion is growing. Like it makes me really proud.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you find that maybe that's only in North America though? Because like anywhere, because I think like when you look at the society itself in North America, it's become very almost like reserved in a lot of ways, and like it's kind of afraid to kind of talk about any kind of issues that might affect it in long terms, especially specifically in regards to business, right? We don't want to make this show political, whatsoever. But considering you have a politics background, right? So,
well, I'll keep it really short and simple. Is that I don't know enough about I think like the European fashion culture currently. Like I don't know what the status is right now. Like I don't have the opportunity to go to fashion weeks in other countries, especially in Europe. But you know what I do know is the Canadian fashion scene is changing, and I think that like it should people should be modeling after the Canadian fashion scene right now, because people are doing amazing things, and there's companies like Wexley who are doing vegan like outerwear. You know, they have like a whole program now to like trade in your fur coat for a vegan coat, which they're amazing, and I have one, and it's like, wow, I didn't know that I could wear a jacket and like also be
tell us more about that.
Saving animals. Like this is cool.
How do you get a vegan coat?
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's I mean, there's a lot of brands that are doing this now. Wexley being one of them. But there are so many brands that are doing like really like thoughtful campaigns and thoughtful things with their brands. Again, like going back to what we're doing at City Moguls, to do good, to like make an impact and like change the way that we're doing business, and obviously doing fashion and making fashion. And people are doing a lot of things here in Canada. They're like not outsourcing as much, and they're trying to build it up in Canada.
I think it's great that, you know, we're kind of trying to actually support the, you know, people that are within the country and not just outside,
creating jobs,
and outsourcing everything to China, because, you know, even all the stuff that's like I know a little. I was talking to a bunch of people, and they told me that, you know, now China doesn't even produce half the stuff that they claim they produce. They manufacture most of the stuff in Africa, and then they ship it back to China and then put a little stamp and then send it to the.
You don't actually know where things are from now. It's kind of weird, but like especially like knowing like, oh, like when I was working at Roots, I would go to the factory and like actually see like this entire factory working on the leather products. And yes, like again, this is where collaboration comes. Leather has to come from Italy or wherever it comes from, and but like we're creating jobs here, and we built a factory here, and I think that's really cool. Like I think we need to like recognize that more.
No, for sure. I think I'm totally down for, you know, helping Canada, because I think we always get overshadowed by the US in a lot of the ways, and it's kind of
totally
like even the reason for the show too is because we kind of want to, you know, put a lot of people.
Yeah,
on the
I
map
love
too.
this. This is great.
It's actually, you know what it's called? It's called the Red, White, and Moose.
Oh, I love that. That's
we
very
actually
cute.
had the artist on the show too.
Come on.
So,
I need to get an introduction to that artist.
For sure.
I love that. That's wicked. I want
check
that
him out. It's M Jones Creations. On
okay,
Instagram.
I want that in my place. That's great. That's like super Canada proud.
He does like a lot of really cool different pieces.
Yeah.
Because we wanted sort of something that represents Canada, but not like just a flag. We just kind of be like, you know, like.
No, this is really cool.
Yeah, because we kind of wanted to have like a conversation starter, right? So something.
Yeah.
All that like kind of rustic Canadian feels.
Cool.
It's actually repurposed.
Like
I don't want to touch it.
No, you can touch it. It's repurposed barnwood.
Okay.
That's been from like buildings that have been, you know, demolished.
Yeah.
So this is like really old wood that's been
very cool.
washed away by the water and like, you
wow.
know. Yeah, so it's like been exposed to elements for hundreds of years.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
You probably have a lot of people on your show that you could nominate as moguls, so you guys should go and do that.
For
this
sure,
week.
we'd love to. Yeah. Well, we plan to, you know, do a lot of different episodes, so I'm sure that over time we'll have a lot of people.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean, but it probably won't be on the same scale as somebody who, you know, that you guys have.
Hey, you
like,
never know.
I mean, like, you know, it's hard to find somebody who would be on the same level as somebody from Dragon's Den. I mean,
Well, that's the thing. We have a lot of
hope
people.
to grow to that level, right? So,
Well, that's the thing, and the nice thing is like our people who have been on those big shows share the runway with people who again are like midway through their kind of journey or wherever they are in
and
their
I love
journey.
that. I think
But
that's
they're
awesome.
also doing innovative things, and they could maybe collab together, and maybe one of them wants to invest in one of their companies. I don't know. That's the whole point, right? So we're not just elitist group of people. It's really an amazing, and you know what? Some of the feedback that we've gotten is from the moguls is like, because a lot of them don't know each other. They're meeting each other for the first time or maybe the second time, if that. And the feedback we've gotten is really positive where, people have come up to us being like, this is a really amazing group of people, like nice group of people. And we're like, we really appreciate that because that's what we're trying to do is curate a really nice, genuine group of people who just want to do great things. So we're very proud of that. And it's, it's something we want to continue doing. So, yeah.
It's awesome because I'm sure like more than anything else, it gives you kind of just a really nice warm feeling on the inside.
It does.
When you set up these events, right? Like,
it does. I have like major heart attacks before the event. I'm like, why am I doing this again? Why am I doing this? And then the events happen, and I'm like, this is why we do them.
If it's just that one person that goes up to you at the end and says thank you, right? It makes it all worthwhile, right?
Yeah, like a different fashion event that we ran many years ago, Victoria and I. We ran one event, so the one that we did in university, and then we ran another offshoot of a fashion show. And two people at that first show met and started dating from that show. And then he proposed to her at that next fashion show. And we were just like, this is so cool. Like people are meeting and like getting together, like
so it's not just
on a basic level.
That means on your plate.
Yeah.
On your platform. It's other people too.
It's everyone who comes to the show. It was like really nice. We were like crying. We were like, oh my God. Because it's just nice to connect people.
Are they gonna get nominated as a couple now?
They should. Yeah, they're a design
City
duo.
Moguls couple.
Yeah, exactly. We'll give them an award.
So talk about how you guys spread the word about this event, and like what are some of the ways that you try to promote it? I mean, obviously social media is probably one of those platforms, right?
Yeah, social media is the biggest
and
for
we've
sure.
kind of briefly touched base on it before we started the interview, and you said that you kind of have a love-hate relationship with social media.
I
So
do.
maybe talk a little bit about that as well.
I have like a love relationship with social media for work, and you have to understand that. If you think social is completely irrelevant, then like don't open up a business, because the next generation is unfortunately, and this is why I have my love-hate relationship, glued to their phones. So I mean, but that's how we're advertising now. Like people I don't have cable. I don't know if you have cable. I don't have cable. I mean,
I've
like
had it for at least 6 years now.
Yeah, me too. It's been like I haven't needed it. So, we're on our phones and that's the way we're doing business. So I think from that perspective, it's like, yes, you have to use it. You have to know how to use it. You have to get people who know how to use it. And you have to use it consistently. With my personal life, it's like, sometimes it can be stressful because, again, people are posting the highlights of their lives, right? And I'm guilty of it as well. I'm posting all the highlights. You don't see me in a post being like, today was the worst day of my life, which I should post more often.
Traveling to New York, selfie.
Traveling somewhere, like, actually hate my life right now. I'm so nauseous from the plane, just puked a couple times in the bathroom. Like, no one's really doing that. For the most part, there's people that are doing that. But that's my only little like kind of thing with social is that it's this game and it's you have to play it.
People only want to put highlights, right, of their,
which is great, and I think it's cool. Like you look back at your own kind of social media, whatever platform you're using, and it's like, oh, cool. I remember this event and that event, and it's nostalgic and it's memorabilia and it's awesome and it's positive. And people are posting positive reinforcements all the time, and it gets you up and it gets you going, and it's lovely. But sometimes I need to just shut it down and remember that I'm just using it today for business. And maybe I use it in a week or two to post my awesome vacation, and that's okay. Again, it's like going back to this human level thing. It's like I don't necessarily know every day what the best solution is, but I think for business, social is amazing. It is incredible. It's an incredible platform. Everyone has a voice. Everyone has a voice, and you can comment and you can put things out there and you can share things, and I get my news sometimes from Facebook, and it's really nice. Like there's a lot of positive things, so I just have to keep thinking about the positive things that are coming at me from social. So for City Moguls, we use social, Instagram and Facebook, and We'll be on Snapchat soon, and people can, our website's a really good place to kind of see what we're really all about at citymoguls.com. That's where you can nominate moguls. That's where you can learn about where the funds are going for Covenant House,
Right.
kind of our mission. That's where you can find dates for Talk the Walk. That's where you can find dates for our runway show. You could see some past Mogul Media episodes. So that's kind of like our hub and like our media source. So yeah, that's kind
That's
of
awesome.
that's where we're at
And
right
you guys
now.
are going to be putting up those talks from, right?
You're damn sure we are. Yes, we
Use
will be
it for
putting those
promos.
up.
You should. That's
Absolutely.
The one thing that I just want to say, like from the stuff that we've noticed with social media is, it's almost like you have to kind of convey an image of yourself now as being like a real person or a real brand now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have to kind of continuously put out the message about yourself, whether it be through stories, through video, through pictures, as to like what's going on within your company. Because a lot of the times you can have people that will actually come on onto your social media, they'll look at your stuff, and you won't even know about it.
Absolutely.
Right? So
and
it's like you're putting out this portrayal of your image. So I think that when you do this continuously, people get like almost like an image of, they're actually doing a good job because they're actually taking the time to do this. And I think with the new generation up and coming, it's going to be the standard. And I think for a lot of people...
It already is a standard. I teach children dance, and they're all over this.
Yeah.
Like,
for a lot of people, it's just like, I have a Facebook page. I updated it 2 years ago. It's like why do you even have it? Like, why do you even link it, right? It's like...
But it's also connecting that older piece too. Like, we're also on LinkedIn, and like we like using that platform too. Like, I think it's really resourceful.
LinkedIn's really underrated for sure.
It's super underrated. I don't know why.
It's like one of the best platforms
It's
to
amazing.
get organic growth on.
It's amazing. Yeah, it is. It's all organic growth, which I love. I mean, you can pay for some things here and there, but it's
more expensive than Facebook. For sure.
way more expensive. I'm learning that as I go along.
Yeah, definitely.
Not putting well. I'll get back to you
Never
on
say never,
where we're putting our money, but yeah, I think that and the thing with the social is like exactly what you were saying is, you do have to show a personal brand, because for me, I need people to go to Dani Kagan's Instagram page and be like, oh yeah, I know she's the founder of City Moguls, and I want them to associate positive things with me and the brand, right? So it's like one of the topics hopefully that we might do for Talk the Walk is like building your personal brand and your business brand, right? It's like you need to use these tools in a certain way and play that game sometimes so that people have positive associations with you and your brand. Yeah, it's a struggle every day.
Yeah.
Amazing. You've been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thanks for having me.
We love the messages you guys are trying to spread, and what you're trying to accomplish with it.
Thank you.
I think that it's it's incredible to bring people forth and acknowledge them, and especially with the fact that you guys are not just picking just the cream of the crop, but also you're trying to go after the everyday people that are they're actually making a difference to their community and or through their business or whatever that they're trying to accomplish. But I think that's really the most important thing, is kind of putting our Toronto itself and Canada sort of on the map too. And it's important, especially in today's day and age where everything's going to be online, right? So with stuff like this, it's important to kind of promote us as well, on the global scene, and to kind of create this image of us, and to try to be innovative, just like you guys are being, like with the stuff that
you're already there. You're already doing it.
So yeah, I mean, if you have any other of your businesses that you want to mention, like how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean,
for your event planning and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then here we go with all the plugs. Yeah.
So plug all your stuff.
Okay, plugging our website obviously is citymoguls.com. How it sounds. And then you can find us on social at City Moguls, and that you'll find everything through there. That's
nice.
That's it. And people can email us. You can email us directly. You can PM us on Facebook, Instagram.
Sure.
And if you guys want to nominate a mogul,
we'd love to.
It's open, so you can think of some people, and
most definitely
people out there can nominate, or everyone's welcome right now. So
amazing.
It's all open.
Awesome.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was so much fun. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye.